All right, okay, here we go. It is episode 3 of the Road Warrior podcast with Greg Rubendall. I am extremely excited to be chatting with my first teammate, the one that got me uh, following and involved, and I mentored a little bit. This is my brother, Geoff Rubendall. So, Jeff,
Hey,
welcome.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah. So one of the kind of the purposes of this podcast again is to talk about our experiences with sport, family, understanding culture, and how that shapes and affects our worldview. We grew up in Concord, California, so in the East Bay, and had a pretty significant sporting experience. And Before we get too far into it, Jeff, a little bit about yourself. What should we know about you?
Well, again, yeah, start came out directly had a coach slash big brother telling me what to do, what not to do, which was a really exciting time. Growing up with a really close knit family, went off to played through up through high school. Didn't have the wasn't good enough to play in college, but I played like as a young adult and now working as a civil engineer, transportation planner, I now have kids who are of that age starting to pick up the sport. So exciting to see how the lens through which as a parent of somebody playing sports and kind of seeing how realizing in live that how my world has been shaped by my playing time, and I also did some reffing and some coaching as well, kind of on the as throughout my life here. So kind of excited to where soccer's been a very much a through point for a lot of it.
Well, well, you never really hung them up. I know you played intramurals. I know you and I played on some men's open and competitive indoor leagues and outdoor leagues. So for those out there, you never hang them up. You just shift gears. I think when people, you have parents who are crying at the senior game or the last club game, and like, oh, I'm never gonna go see my child play again. There's so many different opportunities to continue on with this game. You don't have to be competing at an extremely high level. I'm sure. Did you? I know we won a couple of outdoor, men's leagues teams and co-ed teams. But how did your intramural experience go? You guys hammer it down? You guys were the rugby frat though, right?
No,
Did you at
we
least
were
brew
never.
some
Yeah, my
people up?
fraternity in college, we were known for rugbies. No, we definitely brought in some big guys from time to time, but we won a league or two. My company team actually, we won a league in a super remedial soccer league about 10
Yeah.
years ago. But trust me, we have been talking about that tournament that we won for years. There's still a photo flying around of us at the time, but I think it went to PKs and we came up on top. Winning soccer tournaments and getting the trophy for winning and being the best is not something I'm super familiar with. But it just hasn't really deterred me from
That's
playing.
right. What
But
was
this
your
actually,
sorry? What was the name of your team growing up? I can't remember.
we were Arsenal was the club
Yeah,
team
so
I played
you're
for.
hey, for anybody who's Arsenal fan, everybody who's an Arsenal fan out there, very familiar with not winning trophies. So you're right. You kind of you chose it
Well,
good,
the
dude. You
funny
chose it early. Good.
Well, the funny thing
Good
is,
team.
well, I don't know if you know. Well, I'm sure you know this, but the funny thing is, so we played on Arsenal club team. That was our name. But I'm a huge Liverpool supporter, and I think the
Right.
opposite. I think your team, right, was Liverpool, but you
Yeah.
actually don't follow
No,
Liverpool.
I'm a United
so,
fan.
so
Yeah. I guess
yeah,
we had some poor experiences, so we moved in another direction. That's funny.
there you go.
Um, yeah.
But
So
but I
yeah.
was
So
going to mention though the latest development is I actually coached my son's soccer team his first year coaching, first year playing soccer like in a rec league. So I'm like it's very uh, being on the coach through the coach's lens is my
well,
latest foray.
Well, a little bit later on, I'll ask you about that experience of coming in as a coach, especially of your child and the things that you are aware of and the things you're maybe not prepared for. I think is really important. So just tell me your perspective growing up, with some parents who were extremely involved in all the sports associations and leagues that we were involved in. But they were both board members and integral. So kind of, set the stage. What was it like from your eyes growing up in a family that was so, I would say, dependent on sport? I wouldn't say it wasn't just a passion.
Yeah.
It was almost dependence.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you don't realize till I was much later. Like I just assumed, mom and dad had been involved in soccer forever, but they really picked it up when you picked it up, and with the three of us, Yubi and Carrie kind of picked it up. But I think what kind of looking back, because some time has passed, I'm not as this youthful face may share some experience, but it was really the family weekends, the tournaments, and a lot of our family time was spent on those soccer-related things, tournaments and activities. I mean, I specifically remember, a really like where we went to the Chicago Zoo with our cousins. It was because we had a soccer tournament in Chicago or in Minnesota, I think it was, and then
Yeah,
we went to Chicago afterwards. So like really the positive emotion of just family and togetherness, and how like, oh yeah, there was a soccer tournament in there, and if I was playing, we did win. Usually your team was pretty good. You guys got some pretty solid ones, but
yeah,
I think there was like a Pikes Peak tournament where I got to play
yeah,
as an add-on to a team, and I was just there because you guys were playing there. So it's like the opportunities that soccer has provided to kind of bring our family kind of together, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
some of those stories that is it's not because of the soccer, or the
Mhm.
soccer isn't the story, but that togetherness is. But so it's like that positive
Yeah.
relationship with the sport.
So I just came back from Philadelphia from the United Soccer Coaches Convention, and every single year they have the USA Cup. So the USA Cup, for those who don't know, is out in Blaine, Minnesota, so outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul. So for those who are from that area, hope everything is good. I know it's a little tough right now. But every time I go to the convention, I go to the table and I tell them the story of going to that, and that tournament really was the one that got me hooked on soccer. There's an opening ceremony. I think there were 500 teams from all over the world. We played a team from Brazil. We played teams from all. Watched a team from Hungary beat somebody like 26-0 in a 50-minute game. So if you can imagine, it was kickoff goal for 50 minutes, and just going there, riding the bus. I think we were in the dorms of University of Minnesota is where we stayed, and I remember this pretty vividly. When I was about 7 years old, I was at a camp at St. Mary's, and we did a one-on-one tournament, and I ended up in the finals against this guy, and it was David versus Goliath. And the guy's name was actually David Hanley. So I was not Goliath. I was the David in the story. But I remember I nutmegged him twice to win the one versus one. And he came with us to Minnesota, and he was my roommate. And so I thought it was pretty funny. And then fast forward like 15, 20 years, I move up to Sacramento, and one of the directors of the soccer clubs is that head coach of St. Mary's, Mark Talon, and he still remembered that one-on-one, and it's crazy the ins and outs. And I think that trip, didn't you get pretty ill? Like, you were like bedridden, weren't
Oh,
you?
you remember? Yes,
You were
I came down with
scared. I mean, you were
pneumonia right
really
when we got
sick.
to the family reunion.
Got it. Yeah.
I mean, I, I was tiny, I was young, but I think the biggest thing is there was like all the cousins. We were all from all parts of the
Mhm.
U.S., and that was like the first time we all got to like hang out and meet. And there was a huge Chicago Zoo trip, and
Yeah.
I'm like passed out underneath the dining room table because I'm just have pneumonia and a fever of 103, and like one of my uncle Rick, I think it was just like, all right, bus to the Chicago Zoo is bored and let's go. And I woke up and I was like, I have to go. I have to see the animals. And mom was just like, oh, you're not going anywhere.
You're
But
not
yeah,
going anywhere.
still
Yeah.
good story. Like
Yeah.
all the cousins got to sleep in like their own room and tent out in the backyard. Nope, Jeff, you are quarantined.
Yeah. And
But
I think that was the
still
last time
positive.
we got together. So yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't do
pretty
a lot of
much.
family reunions. We had a lot of soccer trips. Our soccer team was our family. So that's maybe what we get
Yeah.
at. I mention this a lot. your perspective, our mom was the club registrar, and back in the 90s, 2000s, registration, there was no office, so our living room was an office. I remember we had a mailbox out front where coaches at all hours of the night would be picking up rosters or player cards.
Hmm.
What do pull from that? Having all those soccer people just kind of float in and out of our house, on the business
Yeah.
side. Anything?
Yeah, it was. No, I mean, it was fun. Like, I remember, I think I got paid like 25 cents per card I laminated because they would like laminate all the player cards,
So,
and maybe it
so
was a
I
dollar.
spoke
I
with
don't know.
our
It was
sister
forever ago.
Carrie
I was like,
last week. So, and I didn't get it. I never made any money on laminating cards. So I'm not quite sure. Did I miss out on the
you know,
family business? Uh, you know,
well,
she
I
said,
think that you probably did it, and they're like, wait, we could.
yeah, you guys threw a revolt. You saw how hard I was working. Yeah, pretty funny. Yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
mean,
So
25 cents times 100 is still a very small number.
it's a big number to a kid, right? And
True.
paper routes and laminating cards. That's how we grew up. Those were our first businesses. Um, so
Yeah.
I'll go through this real quick, little rapid fire questions for you. Okay, you ready? All right. So all right,
Sure,
ready?
bring it.
Go. Your favorite coach you ever had all time?
Ooh, Larry Hall,
Larry. You
first
know what?
club
And
coach, one of the
again,
dads. But
that's exactly what Carrie said last week. So why
well,
Larry Hall?
that's because he coached. So he coached Carey in high school, which is a completely different two worlds. Yeah, he was just a very positive, supportive guy. It was. I mean, Dad was our coach for a long time. Also a great coach, high school coach and everything. That would be too easy to give him the props there, but also a great coach. Larry was kind of my coach when I went from being like a rec player to a competitive player,
Mhm.
and he was never like uh, he never put the pressure on like, oh, you have to do all these extra things. Like, he pushed us hard, but he really helped me fall in love with the game of like wanting to play
Mhm.
and wanting to get better. And then when he transitioned into a little bit more serious, he kind of took a step back. And John Hayek, who was, I think, St. Mary's coach for a while too, or no,
Mhm.
he went to St. Mary's, coach at De La Salle. He
Yeah.
uh, he was also a great coach, but that was like more like a trainer. Like, he
Yeah.
taught me how
It
to
was a
play
coach
good,
trainer.
play soccer good.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's interesting. So again, for those who are out there, what are the characteristics that players are really interested in? Somebody who makes it fun, engaging. There's the right amount of pressure, and the pressure to win isn't necessarily there. You want to win for the coach, and that kind of reminds me of one of the coaches I had in high school. He was a trainer, Rick Bexica, and Rick was Portuguese, and I remember just the camaraderie that we had. His brother was on the team, so we had kind of that going with us. But I remember our runs up Big Mama. So anybody who knows
That's
Concord,
right.
there's a trail that runs from Ignacio Valley, our high school, up into the hills, and so we would go team runs up Big Mama. So did you guys did that as well, going up into the hills as well, or no?
A few times. We didn't. Yeah, maybe we also didn't do very well when I was in high school. So maybe
So,
our
so,
fitness
so
was
your
was
coach
was,
didn't
was one
do
of the
very
reasons.
well. Is there something? You're an
No,
Arsenal.
my dad. No, I am not a very good soccer player. Never have been, but
I
God, I love
disagree.
playing.
I disagree. I
Um,
disagree.
well, thank you.
Mhm.
Bring it on. No, yeah, we. I mean, I remember high school soccer being grueling for just the schedule of it all.
Mhm.
Not so much the training piece, but really like, going to high school, which is intense in and of itself, and then having those like, 3 to 4 hour practices right after school. I've did the our I'm getting off topic, but the big thing that sticks out on that is that in our high school at the time, our team was made up of about a third, white kids who spoke English, a third Latino kids who spoke Spanish, and about a third Afghan who spoke Farsi. And so all each group kind of gave the others kind of that friendly rivalry and pushing. And I remember one practice where it was a keep away drill or whatever, and the only rule is that you couldn't speak in your native tongue. So I could only speak Farsi and Spanish. So you're kind of talking with everyone in the language that they know, and just kind of giving each other a hard time about like, oh, you don't know how to pronounce the right words and all that stuff. And like it always, soccer season in high school was always during Ramadan, and so a third of the team, when like the final whistle was called, they bolted to go home because they haven't eaten all day.
Yeah.
And so there's like this like, not with empathy, but just that like that team camaraderie associated with like understanding. That was kind of my first experience dealing with somebody who hasn't grown up the same exact way that I have and celebrating the same thing. So definitely got non-soccer
Yeah.
stuff from that.
I think I think the one of the things that I love about the game so much is that you can go anywhere in the world and make a friend if you have a ball. And I think that's growing up in California, Northern California. It's extremely diverse. I did a podcast one time in one of the clubs I was a director at here in Elk Grove in Sacramento. I went and I did actually the data and the demographics of the school district, and they translated into 102 different languages in the school district. So the diversity in Sacramento is amazing. Bay Area, same thing. You got a lot of different cultures mixing together, and again, soccer kind of bringing us all together. So within that, what are some of the standout moments from you playing, traveling, as a player? Anything that sticks out in your mind?
In Arsenal, we did win one tournament one time in Tracy, and I think I scored in the final. At least I've convinced myself I did. And it's just like it was a very like exciting time. But yeah, I mean a lot. I think the some of the teams that we were on, I had the opportunity to play with some folks that were on my club team for John Hayek, who's our coach, where we traveled to Spain and got to play at the Canary Islands in a tournament against teams from different countries all over the world. That's where we got beat like 16-0 and 25-0.
Tell me more about that team going to the Canary Islands. What was that all about?
So it was a through De La Salle High School, I think was the sponsoring organization. They took a soccer team, which I was on. They took a basketball team, which De La Salle basketball, if you remember, the football team had went 20 years without losing. The basketball team won every game by about 50 points. The soccer team collectively lost about 36-0 in 4 games, something like that. So, at the end of it, the basketball team had convinced us that they could beat us in soccer. So it was a little humbling. But playing against European, players was great. But yeah, we got our.
You should go back and look at your pictures, because your age and Cristiano Ronaldo are about the same. So you could have, because Cristiano Ronaldo's from Madeira. He's from the Canary Islands. So he might have been one of the guys who scored like 12 goals on you. And we didn't
play Portugal. We played.
Yeah, Madeira is the Canary Islands. So yeah, maybe.
I'll have to check that out. I will say, Chris Wondolowski was.
Maybe, am I right? Now I'm befuddled. Canary Islands is in Spain.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an island off of Spain.
Yeah. Maybe.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
He may have been one of 16 people who've scored goals on us.
Huh?
I was gonna say we definitely got beat by several European nations, no, it was all around great experience. Also, it was life, triple for lifetime.
So for you, as a player, what for you makes a great coach? So we talked a little about Larry and just the need to cultivate a culture within a team. What else makes a great coach?
Yeah, I mean, being present. Being working with each individuals individually, but also treating everyone with respect and bringing, being there for them. Whether it's to help with a skill or just be organized, it goes a long way. I mean, in hindsight, coaches other than our parents and maybe some family friends, they're the adults in our lives. So it's really learning how to be a better person by seeing how other adults interact with folks. And I think that's why Larry is one of the folks who jumps out, is because he was always having fun. He did not know a thing about soccer, but he was always having fun, and you wanted to play hard for him, and he made it fun. So I think it's really the technique, the skills, that is also very, very important. But without the human side of it, it kind of just doesn't land.
Yeah, there's the quote, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that, especially in coaching, is really important, is creating and building the bond with the individual, with the group, and being able to, there's a big trend or a change in teaching the whole athlete, not just the soccer player, but the whole person, right? And having that holistic view of what we do and how we do it. Because we all have a background and experience, personality, cultures. And the more we know about the people we're interacting with, the more effective we are in guiding them to where they need to go, right? And I think this is no more so in coaching, but in life, right? Is understanding who people are and what they're all about. That for me is one of the biggest things, is why I love to travel. I've been to quite a few countries, but as I go into countries, is always learning the language, absorbing and learning from the culture, and really understanding what it's like to be there, because it's different than where you're from, right? So within that, I know went to the Canary Islands, but you and we went on a couple of trips to Europe, or one trip to Europe and a trip to Brazil. So from our European trip, I remember we dropped in to Venice and then went all around. Is there anything that sticks out for you? Because I think we were in Italy, Croatia, Germany, I think we went up to.
Slovakia?
Slovakia, we were there for a bit.
It's in Slovakia too. Well, I fell in love with Budapest. I mean, that was
Yeah.
like the one thing I was like, now I know why you lived here for as long as you did.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful, super awesome place to be. The trip itself was great, and I'll talk about it. However, I will say it was the last big trip I had before I met my now wife. So
Yeah.
it's a very important trip in the sense that it was the pre-Michelle.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it with you was just fantastic. And yeah, I'm not a worldly traveled, and you are, and I
Yeah.
think that's where your yin and my yang go well together, because I would have not known where to go, what to do, how to interface with the local folks,
Yeah.
and it was just great to have a de facto tour guide
Yeah.
in you and my worldly traveled older brother.
Yeah.
But no, it was just everything about it was great. Like,
Yeah. So
I could talk
just
about that for
just to,
hours.
just to throw it out there, just in case it's not obvious, I'm the one who goes wherever the wind takes him, and Jeff is the planner, right? And so when we go into trips, he's set up World Cup pools with multiple people. He is a planner. He is an engineer. He designs, develops, and if it's not logical and not in a proper step, it may not work for him. So we all have personality types. He's for
We
those
know
who are
it if
like
we stay in our
me.
lanes.
Yeah, exactly. For the people who are like me, you need a Jeff, and for Jeff, you need a Greg. So I think the yin and yang
Yep.
analogy is perfect on that end. I personally, from that trip, there's not a lot that I remember outside of dropping in from like a 20-hour plane ride into Venice and it being 100 degrees. There's no place to go. There's tourists everywhere. And I was
And we
absolutely
were just like, we got
miserable.
our huge bags. It was just like,
I was so miserable. I was
well, I
like,
don't know if you
get me.
remember, but there was also the ferry, like the ferry ride to Croatia was also like there's a bad storm. So it was
Yeah,
just coming off of like a boat. I don't know if it was before or after Venice, but it was
yeah,
being on an island where it was just so many people. It was like
yeah,
the height of the year of the season, and then like coming, being part of that like ferry trip to Croatia. It was just like that was the start of the trip. We're like, oh
yeah.
man,
And I
this could
will say
get.
for those who travel quite a bit, this is a travel hack that I did on that ferry ride or on that boat ride from Italy to Croatia. I sat down next to one of the attendants on the boat, and I sat down and talked to her about all the things I needed to know about Croatia and the language and the culture in that hour and a half boat ride. So by the time I got to Croatia, I had, 5 or 6 different phrases. I knew the numbers and letters. But then when we got there are no street signs in Croatia. If anybody's trying to find themselves, like, older civilizations are not gridded like San Francisco, like Sacramento. Roads were made over long periods of time, not within weeks and months. So always learn the language. A little bit of the survival language will get a long way. So
Yeah.
and again, we went down to Brazil. So like going to Europe for you was before you met your wife. Brazil was pretty much the last trip I took before I met my future wife. What do you remember? What are some things that stuck out? We were in Brazil during the 2014 World Cup. Terrible time to go to Brazil. As most times, who wants to go to Brazil? It's terrible there. But we had to go
Um,
there during the World Cup.
yeah, it
Things
was
that stuck.
well. So we, to be clear, so we were in Fortaleza together, but when you followed the U.S. team, I stayed in Fortaleza with Michelle, who's not a huge soccer fan, but she's a sports fan, and she was just all about it. Like I got her on the beach playing soccer, and she got after it during all the games. We were rooting for the team that she wanted.
Isn't
So
your son
it
name?
was it
Isn't
was
your son's name Neymar? No, Neymar? No.
It is not. Nice try.
Oh, you
Nice
didn't.
try. That there's not that, but no, it was fantastic because being able to experience the World Cup anywhere is just one of memory of a lifetime. Bringing Michelle with me and being able to experience it with her was great. Seeing you and your friends there as well for the week or two that we were there was fantastic. It was before Airbnb was like a reliable place to stay. I don't know if you remember the place that we got, but no AC, no windows. The mattress was a piece of styrofoam. It was the most uncomfortable place I've slept. So that was the one bad part. Everything else was amazing. Funny story. So we're in Fortaleza. We're going to the Netherlands, Mexico second round or quarterfinal game. I forget which one it was. Michelle and I get on the bus. We go. I think you're already down in Rio at this point, and we're walking down into the stadium in Fortaleza, Brazil. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm walking down and I run into my fraternity brother named Matt Hively and his wife, who's from Mexico. She's Mexican. They lived in Mexico at the time, and we're decked out in our Netherlands head to toe because we're rooting for the orange. They've got Mexico head to toe. We ended up seeing the game with them. It was like hadn't seen the guy in 10 years maybe, but just being able to like take something like the World Cup in a foreign place and running into like a long time friend was like, what are the odds? Like there's somebody up there, some sort of influence that like made that happen, and it was just
Yeah.
like, wow, like that's just like wild that we were able to do that. But yeah, what a trip.
Yeah. I remember I was also in the streets. Mexico was coming out before that game of their hotel, and there's the little bumblebee girl from TV. There was one of the Mexican fans was all decked out, and pardon me for not knowing her name, like what the name of the character was, but she was all decked out. It was. I still remember that. And for anybody who has an opportunity, as the World Cup comes this summer, if you have an opportunity to watch the Dutch fans and their brilliant orange and the caravan that they come in, it's not to miss. So as we're getting ready for the World Cup upcoming, there are going to be national teams staying throughout the United States in different parts of the country as their initial home base. So they'll be here about 10 days or so, maybe a little bit more before the World Cup. They're going to do trainings, they'll do open events. I highly recommend wherever you are, go and see that, Gary, because you'll have the world press, but you also meet a lot of people from a lot of different places, that you're going to be following and tracking. So really a good event. One of my favorites is and we went there quite a bit, is the FIFA fan zones, which is the free watching area where they have all the televisions and games for free. I heard they may be charging for this upcoming World Cup, so fingers crossed that they're not going to charge for the fan zone, but we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, Brazil I was, Geoff had already left, but I was in Brazil when they lost 7-1 to Germany. And I can tell you, I've never seen so many people start to cry simultaneously, and then within 30 minutes, turn the switch and turn it into Carnival. I mean, it was wild. Like they were so upset and sad that their team had lost and all of this. But by the end of the game, it's Brazil. I mean, we love life, and they went back and they're out and celebrating. And you wouldn't have known. There's no lighting cars on fire. There's no anger. It was just like, oh well, okay, we're still Brazilian, and just that love of life,
That's
that
awesome.
zeal, I think is one thing that I love and admire about Brazilians most is with as much or as little as they have, they're always just happy. So um, well, within that,
That's awesome.
just a little bit about your job. So you're an engineer. What do you do as an engineer? Because my understanding is that you're essentially a city planner developer and work with traffic infrastructure, plus or minus. What is it? Because you've made me do a couple of
Yeah,
work
sure.
weeks.
No,
So
no, that's good. Oh, that's right. You were like an intern for a little bit.
yeah.
Um, put you to work. Yeah, so I work for a private firm where we work with city agencies and private folks to help them with their a myriad of transportation challenges. So somebody wants to go in and build a building, they have to evaluate what sort of infrastructure you would need for people walking, people biking, people driving, and kind of help with that. That's on like one side, but it's a lot of helping diagnose transportation related problems and then coming up with
Yeah.
ideas to make it better.
Yeah, as an intern, just so you guys know, I took a camera and had to film the cracks on Telegraph Avenue in
Was that?
Berkeley because they were doing an impact study for the hospital that was coming in. That's the exciting stuff in the world of Geoff Rubendall. But also, I
Yes.
remember you were part of the stadium project down in Santa Clara, correct?
Yeah, so we helped the Niners and the city of Santa Clara make the best out of the area around the stadium. So that already had a big area, had a lot of parking garages, trying to figure out a way of how to get people around with minimal frustration. It's not like one big parking lot next to the stadium. If anybody's ever been there, it's you kind of need to know where you're going and whether you're going by train or driving. So we're trying to help negotiate how people are walking around and riding around, and try to make the best out of a very very busy, dense stadium atmosphere.
Didn't you go to an entire season's worth of football games and instead of watching the game, was what we're watching with binoculars over the edge of the stadium? Is that true, or is that just my
Wasn't
mind?
binocular. It's really close, really close. Good memory. So they have a transportation and security center, and so all of the cameras outside the stadium are looking at like doors and gates and parking lot entrances. And I was looking at that to make sure that people were using the appropriate crosswalks and oh, gate F, we've got this issue. There's somebody that's like parked their car in front of the gate. Like, hey Jerry, can you ask somebody to move that because the gate, the game's about to end, and you're gonna have thousands of people going out that route. So like I was on the transportation side, and then I was able to sneak away to watch some football here and there. But this is when the Niners were terrible, so it was
So
actually
it
totally
was
okay to miss
almost
the,
it
the
was
football
almost
part.
punishment to
Yeah.
watch them play, or what? So I will
Um,
say, I think
Almost.
for yeah, almost. So for those who are, multi-sport, in American sports, it's the tailgating, right? Showing up, really early in the morning, setting up a barbecue and, kind of enjoying the festivities in the parking lot with, other fans and then driving away. And, uh, the number of people that leave a stadium early to beat the traffic, it just as a fan it unnerves me. Anytime I see somebody leaving before the actual end of the game, it's like you paid to be here and you're not even going to see the whole thing. Like what something might happen and you regret it. So a great example. Our parents, I believe it was the day where they forgot their tickets for the football game, but they were at the big game. So for those history buffs and college football, where Stanford played Cal, our dad went to Cal, Jeff went to Cal, but there at the end of the game, the refs blew the whistle. The band came on the field before the game was actually over, and Cal ended up scoring and winning the game. And if for those who, if you're in sport and you don't know that, then the play, is that what it is? What's it called again?
The play. The play.
The play. So
It's called referred to
say,
as the play.
the play, right? So I think it was more like a circus than a play, but that's for me. But for those who, soccer is a traveling sport. In most other countries, stadium are in local, downtown areas where everybody can get to via easy, public transportation, or they're outside the city with very accessible light rail, train transportation. That is not the case in the United States for the most part. And one of the things that I think that is going to be really pivotal for this upcoming World Cup is to understand how to travel from where you are to the stadium and back home without necessarily driving, parking in a parking lot. I mean, I went to the FIFA Club World Cup at Pasadena, so at the Rose Bowl, and it was $50 to park. And we walked from our hotel, which was like a mile and a half, but we're walking up the hills of Pasadena, getting to the stadium, and it was just so much better experience to go by foot, to get to the stadium and build that anticipation and walk with the crowds than just kind of drive up, park your car and, barbecue out before the game and then leave afterwards. So, I think that's part of the football, soccer culture that I really like is, the traveling with the fans to the game, right? And walking down the steps and, meeting friends from your fraternity and whatever it is. So, so as we're going through here, you have your family. You mentioned you were getting into coaching, coaching your son Benjamin. So, did you volunteer or were you voluntold?
No, I volunteered. I didn't want to be head coach. I wanted to be the assistant coach. So I got paired up with another parent who had done this, who had been coach before of his kids before. So it was good. It was good. Like I know the game of soccer. I know my son. I know how to hang out with kids of his age, but I didn't want to come across as like overly competitive because I can be. And I think that's what I saw is everyone had fun. I don't think we won a single game. I think we tied a few, mostly lost. And for me, it was like, okay, then we need to work on this. We need to work on this. And like, he's 7. It's under 8. You wreck. So like the head coach is like, let's just have some fun. Like, and like the last practice before the last game, we like let the kids run the practice, and like they like, oh, let's play that one game where you like, told us to run around the tree and like bark like a dog. It was like the most fun, and like it was for me, it was like, oh yeah, these kids aren't here to become Ronaldo. They're here because they just want to like kick the ball around and have fun with each other. And it was just like it was a good ending to his first season of just like, yeah, that's what matters is like, the positive relationship with the sport and how it brings people together. But yeah, that was my kind of takeaway from year one.
Yeah. So at the convention, I ran into my friend who put out a book called The Zoo Crew, and it's a cartoon series, and it's all about a bunch of animals that break out of the zoo and form a soccer team, in essence. And the platform is kind of to teach the kids positional awareness. So I want to say the gorilla's the goalkeeper, and it's got a hawk and an eagle who are the wingers running. And it's for those who teach really young kids. It's about connecting things that they know to things that you want them to do. So don't talk to them from a adult perspective. Understand, what's the cartoon, what's the trend, what are the things that they're talking about and doing, what are they learning, and connecting that to their experience as quickly as possible, right? So any superheroes, big media production, things they're learning in school, you'll notice where their head's at when you look at a roll of the names of the teams in the league where you are. when you have the pink ponies, the
Yep.
sparkling ponies, unicorns, the Marvel heroes, whatever it is, it really just fits into where their heads are at. And
Yep.
I do remember, I'll bring this back again. I remember when I was playing rec, U10, we were the Lancers, and we were actually named after the Fort Lauderdale Lancers, which was a USISL team. And our mom, who was
Where that came from.
amazing craft person, she cut PVC pipe poles about 8 feet tall. They might have been only 3 feet tall, but it seemed like eight because I was a little
They
guy.
were. I remember being big.
We had felt flags, and she would hot glue gun on stars and player of the games on our flag. And before every game, our dad would stake in the stakes, with big metal stakes, and we'd put the lances in the ground. So we'd have 10 flags, 12 flags flying on the sideline. And before the game, we would run around the field with the lance, and after the game, we would run around the field with the lance. It was amazing. Still one of my biggest memories as a player. Like, it was, it didn't hurt that we scored 110 goals and had 8 against or 9 against in a season. So that didn't hurt. But that I only remember because the parents told us those stats. I just remember the lance and going in and the stars and all that stuff. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that. That was good.
yeah. So as we're going, just kind of wrapping up here. So again, some advice for parents out there who are maybe apprehensive of, volunteering for their child's sport team, apprehensive about bringing their kids on, travel vacations. What advice, as a parent, I'm the parent of thousands and thousands of kids, but not any that actually are genetically linked to me. So what are your recommendations? What's your advice?
I mean, I'm still learning it, so I think it's that maybe that you're not going to know everything, and you only do so much. I think you just have to stay 1 or 2 days ahead of your little one. But yeah, for us it was reading, understanding that as a parent coach, where your child is on your team, I had to I found myself struggling with. I need to be his parent right now versus I'm coaching all of this team, and that was a little bit of a challenge. But after 2 or 3 practices, it was fine, and was able to kind of see also how the kids interact with each other. So like I'm not at school with my kids, so being able to see them interact with kids on a soccer field or on a sport in a sports environment is extremely helpful to kind of see what they're doing and kind of also empathize with the struggles that they're going with, whether they're tired or they're hungry or they're frustrated. Just really understanding that there's a lot of sides to kids that are developing, and I'm not out there to make them necessarily a better soccer player, but more a better human being through soccer, which I hope that I was effective in some ways with that, and
Yeah.
just making him helping him have fun, and making the other kids have fun. But yeah, you don't have to know much
Yeah.
to be a
Well,
youth sports coach.
I always recommend when we have intro level coaches, especially those who are working at entry level coaching their kids, send an email, talk to your child's teachers and see what are they doing in the classroom, what are they learning in the classroom, what's the schedule for the upcoming, what are they like. Get that information because just like you mentioned, you don't know how kids interact with each other. I've 32 years of coaching, and I spend a lot of my time with 7 to 12-year-old players, coaches, families. So I have a pretty good idea as to what it looks like. The biggest thing is routine. Develop routines. Make sure that they're the standards and the things they know where the line is. What's crossing line, what is not, and making sure that you're uber organized. Because the more unorganized you are, the harder it'll be. It will be chaos. So and within a rec idea, I mean, I bring it back to soccer is an invasion game. I'm protecting the castle and I'm attacking the foreign land, right? That's really what it is. And with young kids, for those with young kids out there, it's literally just that easy. Defend this, attack that. How do you work together to do it? right? And with really young kids, don't worry about them sharing. They don't need to share. It's all about going out there, having fun, and getting engaged. All right.
Yeah.
Well, again, so Geoff, thank you for your insights. Always a pleasure. We should do this more
Yeah.
often. And yeah, as we go through this road warrior path, hopefully we get to talk to exciting, inspirational people like you. And maybe someday I'll grow up and be
Oh,
a,
thanks.
a professional like you are. But I'm just a soccer coach.
Yin and yang, yin and yang.
Yeah.
You know, we each have our path, and we're doing well in it. So,
All right. Well, take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
all right,
All right.
you
Road
too.
Warrior out.
Take care.